What's up, folks, and welcome to the Modern Truths Throwback Thursday. I'm MJ, here with Alex Storm, and we're going to do what we always do on Throwback Thursdays. We're going to talk about an old school movie. So, Alex, what movie are we talking about today?
So, this week we watched Scream. Classic, came out in 1996. It was directed by Wes Craven, starred Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, and David Arquette. And this was a movie that was probably my very favorite horror movie when I was a kid. And it was awesome to watch again. I must have seen this movie. You shouldn't have been watching
this movie when you were a kid. Got started.
I was old enough. It scared me. It scared me so bad when I was younger. And actually, even watching it didn't scare me. I didn't jump. I don't think I jumped. But only because I know what happens. But I've seen this movie tons of times, and I like it every time. And even watching it, I could totally see why it scared me, because there's all kinds of great jump scares in this movie. What'd you think?
Yeah, it's funny. I remember the first time I watched it not being scared by it.
Of course.
And oddly enough, this is super weird. Like the Scream sequence that sticks out to me the most is from Scream 2, the beginning with Jada Pinkett and Omar Epps. Mm-hmm. Coming out of the theater, covered in blood or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
That's like the thing I just remember when I was sort of rewatching anything. I can remember anything else about Scream 2. Haven't seen it since then. But that's what I think, when I think of Scream, that's what I think of. But obviously, a lot of people think about Jesus Christ, I'm blanking on her name. The first scene.
Drew Barrymore.
Drew Barrymore, thank you.
Yeah.
Our wedding singer person. Drew Barrymore scene. And you know what? Help me out in the comments, let me know, because if I'm not mistaken, Scream is actually the first horror movie to have the tag sequence at the beginning of it. I think this started this trend that has literally not gone away since this has come out. There has been basically no horror movie that has come out and hasn't had the slightly connected or slightly disconnected opening sequence that then leads into the story.
Wow.
Before this movie, horror movies just started like every other movie. It just starts, you know what I'm saying? But this is what started I have to have that scary moment as you're like, holy shit, and then you get to the title sequence or whatever, and you go through all the other stuff. So this movie is a very important horror film. Despite a somewhat recent Quentin Tarantino interview in which he said he felt like he could have made Scream better and that Wes Craven had held the movie back, I think that's pretty wild considering that Scream is one of the best horror movies, the best modern horror movies, basically, period, point blank. And it also created the postmodern era, this ironic meta stuff. I mean, it's just so many things that this movie did. It's awesome, man. It's just so important, and it's just one of those things you forget. I think a lot of people don't give this movie the credit it deserves because they've seen like things that have copied it and maybe done some things better, or they just like certain things more and don't realize that this movie is like basically awesome, just brilliant. So
yeah, it set the standard. The thing that I always really liked about this movie, watching it when I was younger and watching it now, is I love the characters. Like, none of them are real people at all. None of them seem like real people. But they're these, like, oddly weird, charismatic characters that are, like, totally not high schoolers. Like, you never buy these as high schoolers. But when I was watching it, when I was younger than high school age, and I was like, whoa, these kids are so cool. They're so weird. And I don't know, watching it again as an adult, I was like, I could totally see why I like these characters. They're like kind of goofy, kind of like fake and plasticky and like weird teenagers, but they're unique. And I think maybe that like falseness, like it's just like the idea of like watching a movie, it's not too real. You're not watching a family. You're watching like teenage characters that are doing dumb shit and saying dumb shit the whole time. And then like even the whole scheme of the movie, this whole idea that these guys are just like, yeah, we're going to kill all of our friends, and then we're going to stab each other, and we're going to be the last ones left alive. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's like a funny high school concept that I could totally get with when I was younger, and now it's like, yeah, why not? Like, why not do this, teenagers?
I mean, again, it is such a meta film. It's like, it's sort of picking on the concept of horror movies. Mm-hmm. Like, if you look at, like, the Scream mask, right? The guys, whenever the bad guy is attacking someone, he is completely incompetent at all times.
Oh,
like,
yeah, totally.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, and even the way he moves, it's almost like it's supposed to be funny when it's happening. So it's just really, it straddles this line between being legitimately spooky and scary and being ridiculous, right? Because it's like, I mean, Neve Campbell's like kicking this dude's ass. Like he drops down from the bathroom, starts chasing her around, and he slips, and it's just like they can't do anything right. Now, once you realize who the killers are, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
But it's still just a really funny thing of just like, is this even supposed to be scary? And the other thing is, Wes Craven. Come on, this guy's one of the most important horror directors, hands down. He created Nightmare on Elm Street. So it's really fascinating to think that all those years after he created Nightmare on Elm Street, he sort of reinvigorated the genre of horror and got away from like supernatural or monster movie. And that's what's really, like for me, when I was really young, I loved Freddy and I loved Jason and I loved, Texas Chainsaw, and I loved anything that had like a supernatural or superpowered slasher villain. But this movie was all about people. It was just regular human beings being messed up. And I never really was interested in that until this movie came out. And then that's when it started this whole trend of things like I Know What You Did Last Summer and like 20 other forgotten films.
Real life teenagers killing each other kinds of movies.
Yeah, exactly. And there's always a twist and all this stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's just so much so much that horror movies owe to this movie.
Yeah, and not to mention that Wes Craven making this, he got to give shout-outs to every horror movie that had ever inspired him or that he had made in his life.
Yeah, the beauty of the dialogue of the characters, like all these teen characters are freaking have encyclopedic knowledge of horror too. But there was one line, I can't remember what it was, I think it was like Wes Carpenter is the first scene. She's like, is the guy Wes Carpenter, whatever, I don't know. Just making fun of like these guys who have made a mark on the genre. And man, it kind of made me just realize, even so in the 90s, we were on the edge. And when this movie came out, sort of like this post-horror, and all those guys like John Carpenter and Wes Craven and Clive Barker, they were kind of on a downswing, right? So I was like, man, like the heyday of horror really was like the 80s, right? I mean, I guess maybe late 60s too in some cases. And I didn't realize how short-lived it was. So the fact that this guy sort of had a resurgence, was able to come with this thing and really make his mark on the industry, not once but twice, is like a super rare thing. And also to really, this movie had a budget. It might not have had like super A-list actors, but clearly this movie wasn't made for like $2 million like so many horror movies are made now. It's like it was still treated like a film, and that was the one thing Wes Craven pretty much always got, was a good budget. They were like, this is Wes Craven, he deserves to be able to make a real movie. And this is what happens when you get a chance to make a real movie versus the stuff we get these days.
Yeah, it did look really good, and the characters were good. The acting was good. It's lacking in diversity. I don't think there was...
Not a brown face to be found in the entire film.
And there might have been like one Asian guy in the background of one scene. One of the
Maybe.
scenes, I think, but really lacking. But I mean, it is what it is.
They fixed that problem in the sequel in the first scene.
Yeah.
Also like that the joke that the black guy always dies first, and then that pretty much happened in season 2.
They're like, all right, we'll put some black people in, and
then they'll die.
They die.
Yeah.
Immediately.
So there's that.
Yeah.
but you can't have too much. So I don't know. Let's just sort of quickly go through the actors in this movie. We're going with Courtney Cox. She plays the reporter. Doesn't really have a huge role, but I feel like this is one of her first big movies, though. I mean, because this was during the heyday of Friends, right? So this was like, I guess she was the hot one at that time who was breaking out in the movies. And I think she's been in all of them. She's been in 3 of the 4 Screams for sure. So she's been a mainstay, as well as David Arquette.
Yeah, they stuck with it.
Yeah, and I think, I guess the third one was the one that was weird, and that's the one I've never seen. I can't remember if Neve Campbell's in that one, but I feel like no one else was. But in the 4th one, all the important people came back. And oddly enough, this entire franchise is actually pretty good. I can't speak to the 3rd one because I haven't seen it, but 1 and 2 are good, and 4 is surprisingly good as well. Neve Campbell, I don't know what happened to her after this. I'm sorry, Neve. Maybe you're on some ABC Family show or something that I'm not aware of. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's a weird dynamic. The whole thing again about like her mom being a town whore and these guys being pissed off about all this stuff. It was a very interesting way to go about it, I think, storyline wise. Was it necessary? I don't know.
Didn't matter.
Yeah, last but not least, the dark horse, Liev Schreiber. I hope that's how you pronounce his name. Our buddy Ray Donovan. He's in the movie. He's Cotton. He's the guy who supposedly killed the mom. And again, for some reason, I remember the second one more than the first one, because in my brain, I was like, he was a character in this, but in actuality, he was in one shot, I believe, in the entire movie, and it was like a news footage of him going to jail or something. But he is a character in the second movie, and I can vaguely remember this stuff. So I just had the movies mixed up, and apparently we need to do a Scream 2 Throwback Thursday sometime soon, because I'm just itching to watch it now, because I really just can't even tell which one is which. But also, like, the horror rules that Jamie Kennedy's character talks about.
Over and over. Yeah.
Yeah, so he goes through all these things, you don't want to die of your virgin. And then, of course, the movie sort of plays with this because
he gets to live because he's a virgin.
Well, but then Neve Campbell loses her virginity and she also lives. So that's where it kind of, tosses the idea on its head. But, you know, it's just, again, it's just so meta and dealing with all those things. And yeah, I guess now that I say Jamie Kennedy, I have to say, man, this movie launched the careers of almost every actor in this movie. Rose McGowan's in it, Matthew Lillard, Skeet Ulrich, like all these people went on, obviously, not, many of them aren't doing anything now, but between like 96 and 2000, everybody in this movie was doing a lot of stuff. Like, I think about Jamie Kennedy, I'm like, this dude was in the sequel to The Mask. He had the Kennedy Experience or whatever. He had a TV show. I mean, he was like a big freaking deal for a little while there. Like, it's just so weird to think that this was the movie that put so many people on the map. And Matthew Lillard, guess what? He's still doing the voice of Shaggy in the animated Scooby-Doo movie. So really, when you think about it, he's won out. He's amazing. I don't know, man. Is there anything else to say about Scream? I've been gushing all over it. I feel a little embarrassed now, you know?
I thought I loved this movie. You got a lot more. Not a lot else. Gender. Girls were okay in this movie. At least Neve Campbell. She was kind of a badass at the end, like fighting. And
Courtney Cox is okay, too.
Courtney Cox, yeah.
I mean, she shot the guy in the head.
She kind of sucks, and she's annoying. But yeah, in the end, she kills him, and it's cool.
Yeah.
They're all right. I don't mind how they're portrayed.
Yeah. It's pretty solid in that regard. So, especially for a horror movie, I guess you can't really complain, can you?
Guess not.
Yeah. All right, so I guess that's going to conclude our discussion of Scream. Again, I'm MJ. You can follow me on Twitter at the only MJ. She is.
I'm Alex Storm. You can follow me at Alex Storm, TMT, as in The Modern Truth.
And themoderntruth.com is where you can find all of our Throwback Thursday videos, our movie discussion videos, and of course, all the news you need to know. So thanks again for tuning in, folks. Take care.